So Stefan said, I am a longtime member of the OPC Foundation back in the days with Siemens, now with my own company, C-Labs. And about 2 years ago, Stefan and I, we had a discussion about energy and that the energy market also needs some standardization. And shortly after, we started the first working group, and actually working groups, a couple of working groups now active. And I want to give you an update where we are with these and where we're going with this, and maybe how you want to be getting involved with that going forward. Energy is a series of sometimes isolated and sometimes connected areas. You have energy production like solar, wind, gas, nuclear, all sorts of different areas that produce energy. You can transform this energy sometimes just into higher voltage to transmit over power lines, but you can also transform it into other media like hydrogen. Then you distribute this energy somewhere where you want to use it. For example, from the nuclear power plant to a consumer in a city. In a lot of cases these days, storage is coming to play a major role. And at the very end is the consumer of the energy that wants to use the energy. But this line is not always straightforward. There are connections between those. You go from production to distribution, you go from production to storage. In, for example, microgrids, you have production, storage, and consumption at a location, and you cut the middleman of transformation and distribution out of it. So there's a lot of intersections between the different areas, and that's also where a lot of communication takes place. And that's the role of OPC UA, right? We want to make this easier to get between those different areas of energy. And for that, we started a couple of working groups to see how can we unify and standardize those communication paths in between these different areas. We have a couple of working groups in progress. The power consumption group is the furthest along, and actually started before the OPC Foundation really had an energy strategy. So it was kind of rolled into the energy strategy. Same with carbon captured that Eric was starting. It was around the same time as the VDMA started with power consumption, and is also now rolled into the energy strategy. SPOM, the solar operations and management and maintenance area, is coming out of the energy strategy. That's one of the new ones. And so is wind. The wind power plant monitoring control is actually one of the leading groups that also works on the basic 61850 node sets that OPC Foundation had for quite a while, but it will be revamped in their efforts, and then a new node set and a new standard will come out of this. Hopefully shortly. They're kind of in the release candidate phase right now, and you will see the first releases and drafts of that very shortly. And then the whole topic, hydrogen, is big, and I will get into that a little bit. We have a couple of working groups planned for the hydrogen ecosystem, and started with the electrolyzers about a year ago. As I mentioned, there's these 5 areas that we're focusing on: production, that goes into anything that produces energy, and energy transformation focuses on anything that converts energy into something else. Distribution is then the transport of this energy. Storage, batteries, hydrogen, heat is how you store the energy, and consumption is exactly what the name says, including industrial machines and production lines, everything that needs the energy. We also have a steering committee for the energy technology that then tries to harmonize all these working groups, that we don't define anything again and again. As I mentioned, the wind power group is the one that is kind of leading the efforts for the underlying base node set, the 61850, that we want to release in tandem with the wind power group's main draft. They're working very hard on getting this released. They meet every 14 days, working together with the IEC on this. So it's a joint working group with the IEC TC57 and the IEC 61400. We will see from them the first drafts very, very shortly. They had some restructuring, but is all back on track, and we'll hopefully release something in the next couple of weeks. As you can see, there are a lot of companies involved in that, all wind companies that have joined that, and it's a very progressive group. The solar group is a little bit on pause right now because we're waiting for the 61850 finished node set to get started again. We did start in 2003, had meetings for half a year, and then it was decided that we will wait for the wind power group to finish their work. And once that is done, we will add the the solar specific stuff like the wind group did for the wind parts. I mentioned the power consumption group from the VDMA. That's a joint activity between the OPC Foundation, the PNO, the ODVA, and the VDMA. So it was a very successful group that Heiko Herden, who spoke earlier, ran. And this power consumption node set is in release candidate. It is in review. It might even be already released because the voting for the technical advisory committee went out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure we're very, very close to release of that. There's a podcast about this from Karl-Heinz Niemann that you can reach on the URL that you can see on the screen. In the hydrogen space, we started working on the electrolyzer working group. This is the first of some to come. The idea is to make hydrogen systems much more easier to integrate with process control system, DCS systems, and other Leitsysteme, how we say in Germany, or distributed control system, energy management systems, anything that needs to bring different components in the hydrogen value chain together, and then reduce the amount of integration efforts that are currently really almost a third of the cost of a hydrogen system. A lot of vendors focus on just one area, like an electrolyzer, a different vendor on the fuel cell, a different vendor on storage, another vendor on the compressor, and everybody speaks their own protocol. And this is kind of where the idea of OPC UA kicks in, that we can unify that, standardize that, and make the whole value chain of electrolyzers much easier. The efforts come out of the distributed control system area. We want to make the OPC UA standard so that it works perfectly with the MTP standard, which is very commonly used in the DCS world. And that is one of the goals for this working group, to come out with a OPC UA node set that also works with MTP. In the hydrogen landscape, you see a couple of more areas that we're addressing. At the moment, only the orange parts, which is the electrolyzer, but you have a dryer, you have fuel cells, you have compressors, you have refuelers. That's probably the next working group that we are starting. And we are also looking into anything that is adjacent to that, like a water treatment plant, which is not really a hydrogen-related technology, but it's always used in order to prepare the water for highest efficiency electrolysis. So this landscape we will attacking in the next couple of years. As I said, we have started talking to companies about the hydrogen refueler section, which is kind of the most important need in this space. There are over 39 protocols right now between the car and the refueler unit alone. So if you have a hydrogen car and you want to refuel that at a gas station, you might not even be able to, because the protocol is not supported. And that is not helping the industry at all to move forward. So I kept this presentation extremely short. So I hope you got everything out of it that you needed. But if you have any additional questions, I will be sticking around for Q&A. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have in this field. As you can imagine, we have quite a lot of more plans going forward, and I will be updating you frequently. That's it from my side, quick and dirty.